OMG, the Tortured Poets Department comes out in like less than 2 hours. Guess who's going to be crying in a few hours? Me. Is that something to brag about? Hi, my name is Amanda, and honestly, I'm just trying my best. This is my podcast where I talk about whatever I want to talk about because I'm still kind of figuring it out, and I think that's okay. If you want to tune in and come along for the ride, I'd love to have you. You are now listening to Semi-Mindful Banter. Welcome to Semi-Mindful Banter. My name is Amanda Doyle. I am your host for this podcast. And thank you so much for listening. I am so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you've decided to join me, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and whatever you're doing. I hope we have a good time for the next little bit. Today's topic is something that I'm very interested in, and it was actually inspired by Taylor Swift and the fact that her new album is coming out um, at midnight. And honestly, I think I just wanted an excuse to be able to mention Taylor Swift a little bit. So there we go. The topic is the concept of reinvention in pop culture, specifically in the last 25 years. We're going to be talking about the reinventions of some pop stars, some movie stars, reality TV stars, people who have faced controversy for their reinventions and reinventions that haven't always been so successful, and also the psychology behind these reinventions. Like, why do these artists feel the need to constantly reinvent themselves? Does this take an emotional toll on them? And also, we're going to ask the question, are these reinventions actually genuine? So, we're going to dive into all of that. Before we begin, I just wanted to catch up on my week a little bit. I don't really do much in my life, so there's not much to catch up on. On YouTube, there's this YouTuber called the Amanda Files, and she made these ranking videos of her Animal Crossing island scandals. So if you don't know, Animal Crossing is a game where you have an island or a little town or whatever, and you live with a bunch of like animal characters. And they walk and talk and have personalities, and they're basically humans, but animals. You get what I'm saying. She made ranking videos of all the scandals in her island. And I found it really interesting that there was so much drama for a video game. And it seemed like this drama wasn't planned. It seemed like this drama was organic. And I thought that was really cool. I found it to be a really interesting case study of personality and maybe even the extent of AI. So I'm playing Animal Crossing again, and I haven't got very far in. I'm very interested to see how I can make this island into its own little world and maybe have a little drama like the Amanda Files does. That's like, I think it's so funny the fact that she has so much drama that she has content for her YouTube channel. And if I'm being honest, I do want to talk about silly shit like that. I'd love to have a series where I talk about the drama on my island every week, or even with my Sims neighborhood that I'm building, the drama of my Sims neighborhood every week. Like, that would be so fun for me. But maybe that's just a fun for me thing. There's this new soda called, I don't know if you've heard of the Warhead candies, but they are very sour. And there is a soda now that is a Warhead soda. It is so good. I've only tried the lemon and the black cherry flavors. And the black cherry is better than the lemon. It tastes like something I've tasted before, but I'm not really sure what it is. You know, when you've tasted that taste before, but you don't know where you've tasted it from. But that's where I'm getting that taste, that black cherry taste of the Warhead soda. And I found the lemon one was really good. It was kind of like Mountain Dew, but lemon flavored. Is Mountain Dew already lemon flavored? Like a lemon Mountain Dew. Okay. One thing that's been frustrating me lately is the fact that the phone is constantly ringing in my house. We had to get a new phone in our house, and we have to keep the landline in our house because we live in a building with a buzzer. We live in an apartment building. So we need to have the buzzer connected to the phone so that we can buzz people in. And it just wouldn't work with a cell phone because not that person can't be home all the time. Anyways, we had to get a new phone because the other phone broke and there was only one of those phones. And now that we got a new phone, it was a package that included two phones and like two receivers and two actual phones. So I put one in my room, and I swear people call every day, every morning, and they call multiple times, but just like random numbers will call at like 8:30 in the morning, and I'm just like done with this. I'm so over it. We're thinking about finding a way to turn off the ringer until it's like midday and someone gets up in the morning, because I mean, what who's really calling in the morning that we need to answer? And you can call our cell phones, thanks. And just final little update on my week, which is not really an update on my week. These are kind of like weird updates on my week, but anyways, another update is how no one knows how to drive in the rain. Okay, I had to go out the other morning and drive Patrick somewhere, and we went to the grocery store. And I swear, no one knows how to drive in the rain. It was raining really badly outside, and people just like totally failed at knowing how to drive and knowing what to do on the road. Just like people not signaling, people like swerving, and people going in lanes they shouldn't be in. I don't understand. It's complicated. Maybe it's just the fact that in my town, no one knows how to drive, because I feel like every time I go out, I have the same complaint that no one around me knows how to drive. Or maybe I drive a different way than everybody else. But I feel like I drive the right way. You know what I mean? I always signal and I always make sure I'm I'm the type of person who signals in parking lots. You need to signal in parking lots. Some people don't. And I think that's stupid. Or people don't signal when you're in the turn lane. But still you got to signal. What if you don't know it's a turn lane? And what if the other person doesn't know it's a turn lane? I don't know. You could cause an accident. Anyways, let's dive into our topic now, the art of reinvention. Many famous figures over the last 25 years have reinvented themselves. And whether these reinventions were strategic or not, these reinventions helped a lot of people kind of kickstart their careers again and stay relevant in the public eye. There's different methods that people use. You could change your musical style up, like Taylor Swift, who's changed her musical style a few times, has gone from country princess to kind of poppy, and now with the Tortured Poets Department, I'm not really sure what to expect. It did say synth pop, but I mean, I think it was Evermore that was also listed as synth pop, and like Evermore is not synth pop. Taylor Swift is thriving off of her reinvention. She is literally doing the Eras tour, which is a combination of all of her music over her career. And it goes over all her different eras. And she performs different music on that stage every time she puts on a show. She will sing her country songs, and then she goes to her pop songs in 1989 and the acoustics in between, all that stuff. When people go to the Eras tour, they actually dress up as a specific Taylor Swift era. Taylor Swift was actually able to brand that era image, which is pretty cool. Beyonce, I didn't really see her as an artist that changes her musical styles up until very recently, because she has come out with a new album. I haven't listened to it because I'm not a country fan, but it is country. And I know that's very different for her, but I think fans are still very much enjoying it. I've heard some mixed reception, but I think people are enjoying it. And it's something new for her, and people have to respect that. But I didn't see her as an artist that kind of reinvents herself. I feel like she always comes back stronger. Beyonce is the type of artist to always come back a little bit stronger. And maybe over the past few years, she has been reinventing herself in different ways. But I always kind of, yeah, saw her as kind of like a pop queen. Another artist who has changed musical styles and thrived off of it has been Lady Gaga, who her first album was pop and her first few albums were pop. And then she definitely transitioned into a different style with Joanne, when she went a little more, I don't know how to call it, like just a little more, it was a little country, yeah, but it was a little more like homey. It felt a little more like home. And I think that's the goal because I watched her documentary about making that album. It was like dedicated to, I think, a family member of hers that had passed away. And this family member was very important to her family. And it was just like a big homage to family. That's what that record felt like. Was it felt like being at home with your family, sitting in the living room with your family. There was some songs that you shouldn't listen to with your family, but I don't know, that's just the vibe I got from that. She's also gone and done stuff like jazz with Tony Bennett, which is totally out of her range. Like, who was expecting Lady Gaga to make a jazz album? But she did. And apparently she killed it because they had like a Vegas residency and everything. Artists will also change their image in order to reinvent themselves. Again, Lady Gaga has changed her image pretty much every time she's come out with a new album, from the Fame with the lightning bolt to Joanne with the hat to when she was filming A Star is Born and she was very natural and wasn't wearing a lot of makeup, had brown hair, and just felt like a different person. I even know now that she is or has already filmed The Joker too. And that is going to be another whole reinvention for her. And I don't know if she's going to stick with it in the public eye or if it will just be something that she does on film. But Lady Gaga has not really transitioned into film yet. She's done like, I think, one or two films, but nothing that really stuck, right? Nothing that's established her as an actress. I think she did like The House of Versace. Is that right? Maybe I'm gonna feel like an idiot if it's wrong. She did like a film, and that's the only one I can think of. Oh my god, I'm totally forgetting A Star Is Born. Duh, I just mentioned it. But other than those two roles, really, even though A Star Is Born was really successful, I think people more so gave praise to Bradley Cooper, at least from what I saw. I didn't see Lady Gaga getting all the praise. I see Bradley Cooper getting the praise because he's the man and bleh. But anyways, a lot of figures will also change their public image, like the public's perception of them. So I think of Demi Lovato, who I grew up with. And when I grew up with Demi Lovato, she was on Disney and then she kind of transitioned because she had a downfall that had to do with drugs and alcohol and she had to go to rehab. She came out and changed her public image to be someone that stands up for mental health advocacy. And even amidst her relapsing a couple of years ago, she still, I think, tries to speak out for mental health and say, you need to talk about your issues. Robert Pattinson from the Twilight series, obviously, when he first started acting, I think Twilight was his first big gig. And he was seen as the teen heartthrob, right? He was Edward Cullen. It was Team Edward or Team Jacob. And Robert Pattinson was the heartthrob and we all wanted to date him. But now I see him as a much more serious actor with roles like the Batman and whatever he's doing that makes him so moody. I think he had a baby, so hopefully that cheers him up. But anyways, he isn't seen as a teen heartthrob anymore. He's seen as an actor that actually could be respected in the industry. I think he did a silent film or something like that. Something about a lighthouse. And another example I have is Robert Downey Jr., who in the like 1990s and the 2000s kind of had a little bit of a rough patch with, I think that was the period. He had a rough patch with like drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And it was just like, wasn't a good look. And like Demi Lovato had to kind of reinvent himself. And his reinvention was actually very successful because he got casted in Iron Man and was able to kickstart the whole Marvel universe. Like, Iron Man was the catalyst for the Marvel universe. I don't care what you say, that was the catalyst. And if it hadn't have been Robert Downey Jr. playing that role, I think it would have been a different outcome. Also, if Robert Downey Jr. hadn't undergone his transformation and changed his public image, it would have been different because people love him now. But before, people didn't really like him because he was seen as an addict. Why does this work on us? Why is it possible for these figures to change their images or change their musical styles, and we fall for it. We're going to talk in a little bit about how it doesn't always work, but a lot of the times it does work on us. Fans of Taylor Swift know this. We have been following her over the past how many years, and she has reinvented herself several times. And several fans have stayed faithful. I think we can see that. Beyonce is getting praise on her new country album. People fall for it, you know? I think people want to see a successful reinvention. I think people want to see people successfully turn into someone new because it's like getting a new version of the same person you've always loved. Does that make sense? It's like getting to see a different dimension because obviously humans are so multidimensional. And with a reinvention, we get to see a different dimension, a different side of that artist that we had never seen before. We've seen a preview of Beyonce's country roots before with Daddy Lessons on Lemonade. And I think maybe that was kind of like a dip in the water, a toe in the water to see how the fans would react to that. And I don't know about you, but Daddy Lessons was my favorite song off of that album. So maybe I should be giving this country album more of a chance. I'm kind of just over Beyonce. Don't cancel me for saying that. That's my opinion. It's my opinion. Now we're going to talk about how these reinventions can affect someone's fans or even the broader cultural landscape. Again, talking about Beyonce's country era that we're going into, I definitely think it's going to influence the summer. I think Texas Hold'em may be the song of the summer, dare I say, and we're going to have a country girl summer. Country aesthetic is definitely coming back into play. I've seen Bella Hadid is like dating a cowboy, like a full blown cowboy, and that style is coming back. So I think these different styles that these artists go through kind of impact trends that we have in our culture and on social media and in pop culture. Some examples of people who have affected the cultural landscape with their reinventions were Ellen, Caitlyn Jenner, and RuPaul. All of these reinventions have helped gain more awareness for the LGBTQIA plus community. That is awesome that we are able to see more representation with Ellen, or we were before we found out that she was a bad person. But we saw more representation of gay females on TV. And with Caitlyn Jenner, there was more acceptance of transgender people and more acceptance of transgender rights. And with RuPaul, we had more acceptance of drag queens. That is still obviously a very hot topic. But I think RuPaul definitely has spoken up a lot about rights for drag queens and the whole community in general. And I think that's great. I also want to briefly mention how someone like Kim Kardashian can brand her image, monetize her fame, and leverage her social media to set a new standard for fame. People like her and Paris Hilton have been able to turn this celebrity into money, and they get paid just for being famous. And now you can be an influencer. An influencer would not be a career, I think, without people like Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian, who paved the way for people to use social media as advertising and for people to use their personal Instagram pages as a place to show ads. If it wasn't for the Kardashians being so greedy about money, they wouldn't have realized this goldmine of an opportunity. Advertising on social media is so influential because our social media scrolling is subliminal. You scroll through social media and you just get all this stuff poured into your brain and you're not even paying attention to it. That's why I unfollowed everyone on Instagram, because I was just going on there and scrolling through just bullshit that I didn't even know if I liked anymore. It was just people that I'd followed like a long time ago and I just like didn't even know if I wanted that anymore. The importance of social media would not exist without people like Kim Kardashian who use social media to their advantage. She posted pictures on MySpace and was using her MySpace page to post updates about her life. And that was just the beginning. We also saw the next generation come in with Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, and Selena Gomez all making YouTube videos. right? Like that was a really big thing at some point. That example right there kind of opened up the floodgates for other people to start making YouTube videos. And then YouTube became huge. And now YouTubers is also a career. It's obvious that these reinventions of people's careers can have an impact on the social and cultural landscape by a lot. Now, let's be real, sometimes these reinventions will face criticism and controversy. Sometimes this criticism is from the consequences of their actions, such as Martha Stewart, who obviously, I don't know exactly what she went to jail for, but she went to jail. And it was people were criticizing her, obviously, for going to jail and saying that she was not the good role model that she had showed herself to be on TV. But I mean, look at her now. She does these lighter commercials with Snoop Dogg, and they're like so funny. She's kind of come back as like a gangsta, even though she faced criticism and controversy during her reinvention. She dealt with the consequences of her actions, and she was able to get past all of that criticism and controversy and turn it into something great. Britney Spears faced a huge amount of criticism and controversy in 2007 and around that time for her kind of wild public image and what we saw in the media, and some incidents with some paparazzi. The public wasn't really big on her then. The public was kind of like, we were rooting for you, Britney. We were all rooting for you. She was able to take a few years of a little bit of downtime, I think, to reinvent herself and have a successful Vegas residency. Like Britney Spears' residency in Vegas was huge. And I don't know if it's still ongoing, but I know it was really big when it was. And she was like hotter than ever. I'm sure some of you will disagree with that, but I think confidence is the most sexy thing that a person can have. And in my opinion, she was more confident when she was older and performing in Vegas than she was when she was younger. I think confidence comes with age a lot of the time, and confidence comes with experience. Some artists face controversy and criticism because of the change of direction. Miley Cyrus, when she transitioned from Disney into her bangers era, kind of faced a lot of controversy because people didn't understand what she was doing. I didn't understand it. It made sense to Miley though, and I guess that's all that counts. I think Miley had to go through her stuff and just kind of get through that shit in order to get over to the other side. That's okay, but her fans kind of were skeptical. I think some fans were skeptical, and the general public was not pleased with this image that she'd been displaying. I also think of when Taylor transitioned from country to pop with 1989. And a lot of people were very critical of that. I think the fans liked it, most fans liked it, but she did lose some fans, and critics were harsh on her because, or they were planning to be harsh on her. And then 1989 was a banger. People are skeptical about reinventions, right? People don't really always like change, they like things to stay the same, especially your favorite artist. If you love Taylor Swift as a country artist and you find out she's changing to pop, if you're not a big fan of pop, how is that going to make you feel? Are you still going to like Taylor Swift's music, even though you're not a pop fan? These artists and these figures have to be versatile and be able to fit into many different molds while also standing out as an individual. And that's a very, very hard thing to do. Some reinventions don't always work. Joan Rivers was a host on Fashion Police for years. And after she made some biting remarks, they removed her. They tried to bring back Fashion Police and it just never hit again. It never stuck. Lance Armstrong was an Olympic cyclist and he was like very praised for his abilities. And then people found out that he was using steroids. So it was all fake. He tried to reinvent himself and come back and like become acclaimed again, but obviously that didn't work because when was the last time you heard about Lance Armstrong? And this one's a fun one for you. I don't know if you know, I didn't know this, but in 2010, Lil Wayne released a rock album called Rebirth. I think I actually had a song on my iPod from that album called Let It Rock. That would make a lot of sense, right? This did not work for Lil Wayne. because he has not since come out with a rock album. And he went back to hip hop. That's just his thing. Lil Wayne needs to stay in his lane. Lil Wayne, stay in your lane. It's hard for these figures to continue with their reinvention when they're facing a lot of criticism from the public and maybe even from people in their lives. We don't know how the people close to, say, Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus reacted to their changes in musical styles or their image or whatever. We don't know how the people closest to these artists reacted to their reinventions. It can be a lot of pressure to want to stay true to yourself and continue with your reinvention, but also please the people around you. You don't want to make people upset, but you also don't want to not express yourself. Finally, I want to talk about the psychology behind this whole phenomenon of reinvention in pop culture. Because why do artists feel the need to constantly reinvent themselves? Is it a psychological thing that I feel like all humans have? I feel like this is it because I know I'm constantly wanting to reinvent myself, and I can't be the only one who feels like that. We're going to talk in a second about how it is genuine or is it just to stay relevant. But if it's just to stay relevant, how is that taking a toll on your emotions? You know what I mean? If you're reinventing yourself because you are turning into a new person, because life changes and life moves, then that is fantastic. And we love to see that. And I support that. But if you are just reinventing yourself because you think that that's what the trend is and you think that's where the trends are going, then that will probably not be a very successful reinvention. Not only that, I feel like there's a lot of heaviness on your conscience that comes from that. A lot of sitting there and thinking, wow, like I am a total sellout. The pressure of fame, though, is very, very heavy. The pressure of fame is ginormous. I don't think I would want to be famous because it would just be crazy. I wouldn't be able to handle all the criticism. So maybe artists and public figures reinvent themselves to kind of get past that criticism that a previous version of them had been facing. If an artist is facing a lot of criticism about the kind of music they make, would it not make sense for them to want to reinvent themselves? And maybe their reinvention can be both strategic and emotional. All I know is that there is a very strong desire for self expression in this constantly changing world. The world is dynamic, life is dynamic, life moves like water. It is never not moving. You will never have a second on this earth where it is just paused. It is always constant flow. As things move, things change, trends change, people change, feelings change. That means that preferred ways of expressing yourself can also change. That means wanting to change the way you dress can be a thing, and wanting to change your hair, and wanting to change the type of stuff you're singing about. Finally, I ask, are these reinventions genuine, or are they just to stay relevant in this world that is constantly moving? Because you can't stay the same for too long, or else everyone's going to get bored of you. We've seen that with artists over the years. I think for me specifically of Will Ferrell, who I see as very typecast, who's been in the same types of movies for years and has never kind of reinvented himself in any way and has just his whole career done these same movies. I feel like the same movie over and over. And I feel like there's been a little bit of drifting off the path, but not enough to make a splash in the pond. Maybe he just genuinely does not care about any other genre of film other than comedy, or maybe he's afraid to change and step out of his comfort zone. All I know is that public figures like that aren't going to stay relevant forever because they can't. Like I said, people aren't going to stay interested long enough. People get bored so fast, especially in this TikTok culture where videos are 13 seconds long and you're constantly seeing something new. Some new stimuli is catching your eye. The art of reinvention is one that can be studied very closely, and you can see that almost every person in the public eye has reinvented themselves at some point. Whether it's been a small reinvention or a big reinvention, it happens a lot more than you think if you really look into it. The audience needs to be entertained and they love to see something new. So why not entertain them with a reinvention and a whole new image? Like I said, it's a new dimension to your favorite character, because I do think we sometimes see these artists that we love as characters in our favorite books. We see their lives and we watch their lives from a distance and admire it. And I don't know, maybe fantasize about being their friend, or kind of wish we could be in their position. Maybe even fantasize about dating them. But every time an artist like Taylor Swift reinvents herself and comes out with a new era, the fans are on the edge of their seat because they can't wait to see what she's come out with next. They're getting a new side to their favorite person. They're getting a new side to their Taylor. You know what I mean? They're getting another peek behind the curtain. With every new album that she comes out with, she is showing more of herself because of the type of artist that she is, as she is someone who writes about her life. Anyways, there is 46 minutes until the Tortured Poets Department, and I want to make sure I'm ready. I know I don't need 46 minutes, but I was thinking of watching an episode of Glee before then. So I think I'm going to hop off. I had a great time recording this today. I hope you had a great time listening. I'm not going to tell you thanks for watching, because you're not watching anything, because I did that last time. And I don't want to be seen as an idiot. So I'm just going to say bye and see you later, and I'll see you next week. Love ya. Bye. Thank you for listening to Semi-Mindful Banter. This show was created and hosted by me, Amanda Doyle, and I loved having this chat with you today. I'll see you same time next week for more less than mindful ramblings, but until then, support this podcast by following us. A version of this episode with captions on YouTube will be linked in the description. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at The Amanda Influence. See you next time. Bye.